proud moment on a historic night.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here in our program. Today, we have a very special program. The idea is today we're going to ask the question, what do Latinas and Latinas think now that the Democratic National Convention nomination has taken place, the convention has taken place. Actually, it happened a few minutes ago. Been 4 days of pounding the public about what the Democrats think. So I want to thank you here for being today. We have two panelists today, Maximo Anguiano and Abelardo de la Pena Jr. Maximo Anguiano is an actor, athlete, creative personality, organizer, scholar, politico from the San Antonio, Texas area. He has emerged as one of the most talented and dynamic individuals of his generation, one of the leading intellectual voices on the intersection of cultural, social politics, education. Maximo is a champion of the Latino community, and right now he's coming in from Dallas, Texas. He's a little bit under the weather. I think he's been partying too much personally on the DNC side, but he is with us. He's a real trooper. He's hanging in there with us. Next, we have my friend and long-term acquaintance and sort of a mentor to me in many, many ways, Abelardo de la Pena Jr. He's a writer, editor, speaker, and advocate, dedicates to the furthering Latino involvement and recognition in the United States. He's presently editor and publisher of LatinoLA.com, which I'm very honored to be part of, a blog that gives Latino individuals and organizations a digital voice. He also works in outreach to increase Latino participation in healthcare. He is bilingual, bicultural. Abelardo de la Pena Jr. has extensive knowledge and expertise in U.S. Latino cultural and community affairs. Anywhere and anything that's going on in L.A., Abelardo's there. So the man knows what he's talking about. You know.
Well, thank you very much, Armando. Thank you.
No, we're honored. We're honored. You know, and we want to talk about that as well. So let me first of all give a couple of minutes to each of you to go ahead and give your background and your thought and your take, and then we're going to get into specifics about the DNC. We'll start with Maximo.
Sure. And Armando, thank you again for having me. Listen, the Democratic National Convention, a lot more level-headed, a lot more understandable, a lot more relatable than the, I guess, sort of fiasco in Cleveland 2 weeks ago or last week. However, we cannot ignore the known and documented bias by the Democratic National Committee against Bernie Sanders. Now, you know, I'm very well connected with a lot of young Latinos, a lot of millennials who were clearly behind Bernie Sanders this year, and many feel scorned. The convention started out very, very low because of that note. Now, Bernie Sanders did come out that first day, and he endorsed Hillary, you know, as he did in the past, and gave her the full sort of recommendation with a very powerful speech, and Bernie Sanders is a champion. So he helped kind of turn that fiasco around, and again, some of the speakers on the first night, I think Michelle Obama spoke, Cory Booker out of New Jersey, they were phenomenal, and really truly believing in democracy. Listen, we're not all going to agree on everything. Not everyone's going to get their way in this country all of the time. But if we can compromise, if we can listen to each other, which I think the Democrats are much more apt to listen to each other and compromise than the Republicans. And I should make a disclaimer, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. But, you know, you just kind of got the sense that they were more apt to listen to you and get that whole thing going there. So I think overall, listen, again, I don't want to take anything away from Hillary Clinton. Historic, what we did mention, you know, Abelardo mentioned, it is an historic time, the first woman to win the nomination and to go in. She's got a great chance to become president. Whether you like her or don't like her, she's incredibly intelligent. She has the experience. For her to navigate the political process is really sort of unheard of to get to that level. So congrats to her.
Okay, and before we go to Abelardo, I do want to mention very quickly that there were major efforts done on my behalf to get Latinas on this program. We were not able to do that, my little disclaimer, and I hope to have Latinas in the future also in these political commentary programmings. With that, Abelardo.
Right, thank you very much. And great meeting you, Maximo. And Armando, thanks again for this opportunity. Yeah, it's been a rollicking 2 weeks watching both the Republican National Convention and tonight this historic acceptance speech by Hillary Clinton. I come from a Democratic family. Myself, I'm a Democrat, kind of an advocate and a activist. I was not a Hillary Clinton supporter during the primary race. I did do a little bit of work for Bernie, gave a little bit of money, did what I could to spread his message and his ideas and values. But comparing both conventions, it was almost night and day. The daylight was very apparent in the way that the Democrats, though as I do agree, they did get off to a very rocky start, and it was a sense that throughout the primary that it was weighted against Bernie in favor of Hillary by the Democratic National Committee. So there was that needed to get up front and taken care of, and I think it was done in a rather good fashion. Of course, there are very many Bernie supporters who are still upset, particularly from the California delegation, and they made their voices, and you could hear them as Hillary was speaking. But it doesn't compare at all to the fiasco as stated, and also the really dark and desperate speeches and ideas and rhetoric which is put forth by the Republicans, which are really I think a turning point for that party, their leadership, and having to accept somebody who got the most votes and who has run counter to the Republican establishment, but it's basically somebody who is who's benefited from their rhetoric expressed over the past couple of decades.
Okay, so let me ask both of you and then open the discussion. Okay, we heard about their issues on economics, jobs, social justice, etc. But what is being addressed about the Latinos? What do you guys pick up, that is in our community?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, listen, again, if you take a look at the Democratic National Convention and compare it to the Republican National Convention, there's really no comparison about who's spending more time with the particular Latino community, because the Democrats are kind of sort of speaking to that community. They had several Latinos speak at the convention. There's been a lot of emphasis on Tim Kaine speaking Spanish, which for better or for worse, look, he speaks Spanish. Congratulations, is good for him. And the whole thing that Donald Trump has promoted with the border wall is contrary to, I think, of the position that many Latinos would like to have. I think what we really need is comprehensive immigration reform, just if we're talking about one of the main issues that Latinos are advocating for. But we also need education. We also need to talk about jobs. We also need to talk about the justice system that's biased against Latinos. And I think the Democrats are more apt to listen to these sort of things. I did not watch many of the speeches tonight because I'm at Sigma Lambda Beta International Fraternity Incorporated's national convention in Dallas, and I think Joaquin Castro of San Antonio spoke today. And listen, nobody gets it more than Joaquin and his family. He's from the west side of San Antonio, the barrio where Latinos and Chicanos and Tejanos all live. And you wouldn't even have that opportunity at the Republican National Convention. So he's a champion. We have a lot of champions inside of the Latino community. Julian Castro, Secretary of Labor, also many champions among the Latino community that are representing us, and I think that are still true to a lot of the values that many common folk have. It's not like these guys have forgotten where they've come from. They are very much part of the gente and the raza that we promote and represent as well.
Okay, thank you, Maximo. Abelardo.
Well, one of the ironies here is that out of the candidates which started off, announced that were running, we had two Latinos major candidates, but they were on the Republican side, talking about Mario I mean, excuse me,
Rubio
Ted
and
Cruz and Rubio. Yeah, Marco Rubio. So that's a little bit of a a contradiction in, or at least ironic, that the Republicans, they took a couple Latinos seriously, though of course aside from Marco Rubio speaking Spanish on occasion and stressing his Cubano roots, really didn't take the more traditional issues that Latinos really care about in a way that really brought them forward and with an empathy towards Latino issues. Immigration, for instance, both Ted and Marco later on pretty much not even followed Donald Trump's call for a border wall, but actually tried to double down on what his really onerous ideas are. So that aside, yes, the Republicans showed very little empathy for a core Latino issue, which is immigration reform, not immigration crackdowns. Whereas the Democrats throughout the convention and both in the primaries, both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders vociferously spoke about the need for immigration reform, and they hopefully with Hillary now in the general election campaign, she will continue to talk about it and rally the votes for it, and then once in office, seriously push it through.
Okay,
But
so
then again,
go ahead.
just there's of course many other issues that Latinos do care about, education, of course, the economy, healthcare, and so on. But it was done and spoken of, and proposals were made in a very comprehensive way in the Democratic convention, in a very positive, policy-driven way, unlike what the Republicans did.
Okay, Maximo.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really needs to be stated and really needs to be focused on right now is, look, this is the year that everybody has been talking about the Latino vote and Latino political power. The number one question that has to be answered, or has to be asked, right now is, will Latino political power manifest? Will our buying power manifest? Will our power at the polls manifest? Will we as a community come together and say, look, we're not going to let these people dictate our lives anymore? Because let's not forget, President Barack Obama promised immigration reform in his first year of office. Did he deliver? No. And I'm not going to point the finger completely at him, because Congress stuck it to him every corner. However, he did promise that. Now, what we need, though, we need to follow through. As I mentioned, a lot of Latino millennials, which is the largest block of millennials in the country right now, many of them felt scorned with this whole Democratic National Committee bias. I just spoke with a young man. He said he's done with the politics this year. He's done with Trump. He's done with Hillary. A lot of people see Hillary as part of the establishment. Again, for better or for worse, that's how these young people feel. Are they going to go to the polls and vote this year? I don't know. Hopefully they do show up and make their presence known.
Okay. Abelardo.
Yeah, I'm completely in agreement. Millennials are the biggest a population block as far as their generation is big. It's growing. They feel empowered. They feel that we have let them down. I'm from the boomer generation, so of course even we had a Clinton in the White House before, who unfortunately brought some of the more onerous welfare, what I feel, welfare reform. He hardened the criminal justice system. He really continued the war on drugs, and trying to get those Republicans to join his more centrist policies. So some of the effects of his administration we're feeling to this day. So she's had to steer. I'm talking about Hillary Clinton. She's had to, and rightly so, she's taken on some of those progressive points of view and policies that Bernie Sanders has extolled, and that many young Latinos and also older Latinos have really brought to their hearts and have worked for. Now that Bernie is in support of Hillary, is he going to be able to pull in his supporters to not just vote for Hillary, but also work for those votes, because that's important. You know, going to the polls on November 8th is, of course, our duty, our sacred duty, I feel. But hopefully this didn't turn off too many young Latinos who are Bernie supporters, to keep them from not only not voting, but also not participating. And that's just important because, you know, without getting behind your candidate, walking the neighborhoods, being out there and talking to their neighbors, and because it's going to be almost, you know, door-to-door combat, I think, you know, in getting the vote out for Clinton to really triumph over Trump. And this vote of voting for the lesser of two evils, that's not the way that we should do it. We should really feel that our vote is going to count for something that we believe in, and it's up to Hillary Clinton and the Democrats to really follow through on that, to make young Latinos and all Latinos feel that their vote is for something and not against something.
Okay, let me put the question. You sort of, both of you raised the point, and you know, point number one. Okay, so the number of Latinos is larger and larger. It will continue to grow throughout the United States. It's already large in California, but big numbers doesn't translate into elections. Okay, if they don't vote, big numbers don't really matter. So we've got to sort of look at that perspective. The second point is, there's one thing I don't understand, and both of you again raised the point. People keep telling me, I don't like person A, I don't like person B, I don't like person A, I don't like person B, I like person C, blah, blah, blah. And I'm asking the question, which I think Abelardo sort of leaned into it a little bit, is when are we going to get past I like that person and get into I like the policies that they bring to the nation that will affect all of us? I think of it as more, it's becoming a popularity contest instead of a policy point. Okay, how are they going to make changes in the country? We're getting caught. And now, am I missing something? Whoever wants to address it.
No, I think you're right. I mean, listen, there has got to be a level of popularity contest-esque sort of thing that we got going on here. Else, how else would Donald Trump get the doggone Republican nomination? Because look, let's be honest, this guy ain't putting forward policies. He's saying, like Tim Kaine said the other night, believe me, I'm going to put a wall up, believe me. I mean, come on, man. That ain't, you know, how are people buying into this? I mean, look, the other thing is, since we're talking about Latino candidates for president, I'll do a Ted Cruz and say, look, vote with your conscience, vote with your mind, and vote with your heart, because that's how people should be voting. Look, what matters is you get to the polls. What matters is that you're heard. What matters is that we have voter turnout. Democracy works if people participate. I know folks that say, hey, look, the government's run by the 1%. It's all corrupt. Well, yeah, if we allow it to, it will be. If we hold people accountable, if we get involved, if we vote, if we hold seats in office ourselves, we can change some of these things. But it's not going to happen until we get involved. Civic engagement on every level. And again, I agree with you. We should be voting for people on our policies. I mean, if you really want to be smart and you really want to think about it in terms of a us and a we thing, we should be voting for the people that are going to do the country the most good, not just ourselves. So I think that needs to be stated too.
Now, I'm in agreement of you, Maximo, there that it's going to be, you know, we have the numbers, we have and it's growing. We're registering in bigger numbers. Immigrants are getting naturalized, and those that are getting naturalized are becoming citizens. But now it's time to really, and it's going to be up to, of course, the message that is brought forth by the people that are campaigning. But also, it's got to be grassroots, and it's got to, and what the Republicans have really done to gather their base, it's all based on feelings, not facts. Yeah. And that's the way that they've tapped into this really anger and rage and really the tendencies of working on their lesser angels rather than on the greater good. And you're right, we're not single issue constituents. Latinos care about a lot more than just immigration, as we know. But we also are part of this country. So our security, not only at home on the streets, but abroad. Education, as I said, and now it's time for us to not to dig in deeper and to really make that effort to learn about the issues, and that's going to be tough in this kind of long primary season, and now another 100 days before the election. There's going to be a lot of burnout. Those that supported Bernie and with a lot of passion have burned out, and now to bring them back, it's going to take effort. And let's see what kind of outreach is going to take place by not just the candidates themselves, but the institutions and the organizations and the businesses that attract Latinos to really compel them to understand the importance and to get out and vote.
I've heard that sentence before. We have to draw in these people, we have to draw in these people, we have to draw in these people. I sort of get that from a media point of view, but at what point do people say, I'm not going to be left out, I'm going to pick the persons, I'm going to move into the system rather than wait for the system to embrace me, to hug me, to bring me in so that I can vote for A or B? I mean, isn't that sort of putting ourselves in the victim position? Like, they didn't draw enough for me, so I don't like them, so I'm not voting. I mean, are we seeing these dynamics going on?
I mean, no, yeah, I think there's.
What I'm seeing, yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Abelardo. I think you got.
Okay, no. As far as what I'm seeing, I pay attention to the media in a big way, and my media is primarily English language, TV, radio, print, social media, and so on. I did a quick, been quickly scanning on Spanish language media because there's still a large majority of our population, the Latino population, which still uses Spanish language, and I don't see the engagement there. Whereas on TV, say right now, just with the convention, with this last big important speech, Telemundo did carry the last couple nights of the convention, yesterday and today, and just the small segments. Whereas Univision was running their regular novelas or sports. Whereas the bigger English language networks were covering pretty much the last 2-3 hours of the convention. So that's part of it. I don't think our media really places the importance as it should on really their future, our future, in not just a small part, but in a big part, depends on who's elected, not just president, but in all these other offices. So I don't think that there's enough emphasis put in by the Spanish language media to really engage. They talk, they do get involved with groups like Naleo for citizenship drives, registration drives, but I don't just see the real push to engage their viewers, their listeners in a big way. And that's critical.
That's a point I hadn't seen. Maximo?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know some people that work for Univision, and they try to run the politics and the convention and the coverage, and then people call and complain, and my mother and my grandmother are probably the ones that are calling because they want to watch their novellas. They don't want to watch this, Republican Democrat stuff. Now, had Hillary picked Julian, I bet they'd be covering it 24 hours a day, but that's another story. Getting back to your point about voting. Listen, part of the issue with the two-party system is people are putting their parties before the people, and they're voting for, again, just whatever Republicans say. So again, Barack Obama wants to put forth a plan. He wants to put forth a proposal. He wants to appoint a Supreme Court justice, and the Republicans are sticking it to him. And it's going to happen vice versa. If Donald Trump wins, the Democrats are going to stick it to him and stick it to anything that the Republicans put forward, and we're not getting anything done. And that's the gridlock that we find in politics, throughout the country. I will also say to your point is we need a Latino political power and our voters to turn out on the down ballot races as well. I live in San Antonio. It has one of the worst voter turnout rates in the country, and we've got to do something about it. Our folks need to realize that, hey, this is personal. People have fought and died for you to vote. They're taking advantage of you if you don't vote. They don't want you to vote either. The system works just fine, and it goes along without our votes, but we need to hold these people to the fire. We need to get into office. Look, the quote-unquote founding fathers that wrote the Constitution, of the United States of America had a vision that people like you and I would go and have a seat in office and then go back to doing what we were doing, whether it be in media and education, because that's how you get true representation of the people, and we need to have that. Our folks need to start realizing this.
Yeah, you're right. You know, seeing at least tonight in the Democratic National Convention, I saw Javier Becerra speak up. I heard from the Dallas County, the head sheriff, a Latina lesbian, and she was dynamic. I mean, we saw brown faces, we heard Latino voices, we heard Tim Kaine speak in Spanish. So there's that, you know, the realization, of course, by the Democrats to really put forward their message to Latinos in a way that is easy to understand, and that with ideas that will really impact their lives. The Republicans were just stoking the fear machine, and that is going to turn off a lot of people as it riles up that particular base. So whether that's enough to counter the Republicans and to compel Latinos to move forward and vote, you know, I don't know, that it's going to be tough. I was hearing voices on social media from prominent Latinos during the, you know, on their Twitter feeds and on their Facebook feeds, you know, just feeling still feeling the burn of Bernie Sanders, you know, of that primary election not being fair. And so to bring those prominent voices together, to bring them to be active again in support of the Democrats from the top down to the bottom is going to be a tough role, but it's got to be done.
Well, we're getting ready to close the show, but there is one strategy that goes back to the time of the Greek philosophers. They told us back then, and it keeps getting repeated, and we see it already in action. Divided, we will fall. The more we find ways to find ourselves divided amongst ourselves, we give away power to the other ones that will not do the same thing. And it seems like I'm seeing issues where, you know, Trump is Trump. There's no ands, buts about it now. Us is we're still debating, you know, should we, shouldn't we, you know, do I like it and all that. And I think if we don't resolve that quickly in our own minds and we get caught too long on this issue, we're going to stand divided. And I'm not sure if that's intentional.
Hey, Armando, I've got to get running. My phone may die here shortly, but if I could get a final word, I want to say, look, President Obama does not get enough or hardly enough respect that he deserves. The guy's a rock star. I will also quote Joe Biden and say not voting is a bunch of malarkey. You need to vote, Latinos. Get to the polls. I'm telling you, it is vote or die. We've got a gun to our heads right now. And listen, we got to wake up to the force and the giants that we are. Hey, social media, if you're on social media, let it translate to the polls. We got to get people in our communities out there and get them to the polls, because that's when we're going to be taken seriously.
I think his phone died out.
I guess his phone died. Yeah. All right. Well,
he had also.
No, well, you know, you told.
I know he was really fighting with that cold, but we're really happy to have him. So Abelardo, it's just an honor to have you on the show. So I guess you have the whole platform for closing statements.
Well, thank you. No, I like I said, I was and I still am a Bernie supporter. I feel that the Democrats, they embraced a lot of his the platform, a lot of his ideas, which I'm really happy for. I can say, even though we have known of Hillary Clinton for more than 25 years, I really didn't know much of her. I think that this convention really opened up the world to what a strong, vibrant, an idea-filled and determined woman that she is, who's really overcome some tragedy and some failure to be a candidate for the top office of the U.S. Big ups to her family, and I think that with the right, knowing more about her and how she has really taken causes for, you know, out of personal conviction and passion, she's won me over. And so, okay, go Hillary. and I will compel people to not sit out the race, and not vote, vote just, even if they just vote against Trump, I'm cool with that. But to really support the Hillary Clinton and the down ballot candidates to make real positive changes to the people in the U.S. and the world.
Now, you raised an issue, and I know I'm trying to, we're trying to close the show, but let me make one statement. This is a pretty stressful world. It's more competitive because now we have not only the Soviets, we also have the Chinese, the Indians, the nuclear proliferation spreading. Obviously, terrorism is an ongoing problem. I want somebody who's got experience dealing with these issues on the international level as well as domestic, of course. And I see the one party more prepared for that, i.e. Hillary, not so much because I'm showing Hillary as a woman, but she really does have the background as from the State Department versus someone who has no background. And these people do not negotiate from a business point of view. They negotiate from a diplomatic point of view. And that's a tough neighborhood to be in, especially since there are more players on the table. And people have been asking me, what do I favor, one or the other? And I've said, I'm going to wait until both conferences happen. And now I'm sharing what I'm thinking is, I want someone who knows the territory on the international level, has a sense of what globalization will do internally to our nation, and be able to put a perspective where, families need to be protected, children need to be protected, and more needs to be done to educate our workforce, whoever they may be. And I think I lean more toward the Democratic Party for that, because I'm hearing those policies being stated, or I'm not hearing that from the other party. So I don't want to close with my final statements. Abelardo, I'm going to close it with your final statements.
Well, thank you. As a veteran myself, a son in the middle, a son who's a wounded warrior, I value the might, the military, the strength of our country, but also that's a last resort. Sending our troops out to battle, sending our sailors out to sea, that's a last resort. We need somebody who could sit down and talk and negotiate and try to understand. It's not going to happen with the Republican choice, but it will happen with the Democratic choice with Hillary Clinton. She has that experience. She has the respect, I think, of the world. There's a few pockets here and there, the Russians, that may not have that respect for her.
Who did wait, they may be reading my emails. Wait.
but she undid a lot of the damage done during the Bush 2 years. And so big ups to her for that. She did slip and fall a couple times, but come on, who hasn't? She's picked herself up, and I think she's going to, with her in office, our interests forward, but not just ours, but that of the people around the world. So that's where I stop. And thank you very much, Armando, for this opportunity, and hope to join you again soon.
Oh, you will. And I really thank you again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Armando F. Sanchez. I'm the CEO of Armando F. Sanchez Production. You can contact me at lsacnational@hotmail.com. And I thank both of our guests, Maximo Anguiano and also Abelardo de la Pena Jr., who shares their background, their information, their insights with us. And, we're trying to stir more discussion. Please write to your congressman, participate in discussion. You're having a coffee with someone else. You don't have to say, I support John and you support Mary, but we can talk about what are the policies that will make our country better. How can we instill those ideas in each other and get those part of our policy of our nation? It's all of us who are responsible for a better future, not the presidents, not the Congress. They are representing us with our values. And if we're not clear what we want, we're not, we don't expect someone else to do it for us. So take responsibility of our civic responsibility. Please, please, please vote whoever your candidate is, but vote. Let your numbers be told. That will be analyzed. That will help to set policy in the future, and vote at every level of government. And I know that Abelardo, through his publication, LatinoLA.com, he allows people to have different voices. So I commend him for that. And Maximo in Texas also tries to motivate people to talk and have those discussions. So again, gracias to both of you. Gracias for being on this convention after conversation of what do Latinas and Latinos think. Again, I invite Latinas to contact me. We'll have them on the show as well to continue this dialogue. But wow, what a historic day today has been. What a historic time. The 21st century has a whole new set of values we've never seen before. And with that, Abelardo, buenas noches.
Buenas noches. I'll try to look prettier next time.
Adios, ladies and gentlemen.
Bye-bye.
Please go out and vote.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Adios.